Okay, everybody, we're back with another episode of Big Talk About Small Business.
Do that little falsetto there at the end.
I don't know how this is going to go today.
Pretty excited.
I really don't.
Because we have a fantastic guest today, don't we, Mark?
We do,
Marcus
but
Swag.
I feel like we're all like under the influence
I
or
kind
something.
of feel a little buzz
Based
right
on
now
the
myself.
Can I
the
speak?
beginning
Can
of
I
this.
speak it? No, go ahead. Lose me.
Our guest in the studio today is Paul Esterer, who is a leading local real estate magnate.
Mongol.
And he's going to tell us more about himself and his background and his business and how you all can be more successful.
Paul basically comes from the Gilded Age. You're a tycoon.
I appreciate that. You're darn right. Yes, thank you, Eric. I'm going to speak with Mark most of the day.
Thank you, Lord.
Yes. Listen,
We already,
That was good. That's one of those hidden funny moments in our show.
well, we got started today before this show because
yes,
I may be like a sixth cousin to Paul's wife or something.
we're related.
Which
Something
is-
on 23andMe. But
which is
anyway,
awkward.
It is awkward.
It's not awkward.
We'd be
I'm
related.
Proud. I'm proud. I'm proud. I don't want to be related to Eric. I don't
could
want
be
to be
cool.
related to Eric. Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm not related to Eric. I was at a funeral recently though, and the guy officiating it, his name was Eric Howerton.
That's hilarious.
Isn't that strange?
That is.
Boom.
Okay. Is that a punchline?
Yeah.
That's funny.
He wasn't. I thought, is that Eric's daddy? No, he's
Eric.
I think he's younger than Eric. But anyway, so Paul, let's get serious now.
Yes. I appreciate that.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got into the business that you're in.
Anytime I talk about myself, I have to talk about my parents and where I came from, the context, and I'll just give it as a background because they were interesting humans that I'm super proud of. But when your dad and mom met in an opera at the University of Michigan, he spoke 7 languages. They went to live in Japan and Zurich, and from Germany, they were into the arts and theater, but also my dad wanted to create a small business. He started a winery. He got tired of the work. He was an MBA from Michigan as well, and cryptologist for the Navy on the side because he spoke Russian and German and Japanese and Chinese and all these languages. So that's
cool.
Then
Wow.
we moved to
But Paul,
Yeah.
I got to stop you right
Come
there.
on, man.
Stop it.
How did you end up doing real estate in Arkansas with that background?
Complete disappointment. Complete disappointment.
Come
So
on.
He's so disappointing.
the disappointment thing is supposed to come at the end of this. So,
I'm sorry. I'm just giving you
so what
a hard
happened? So that's a fair point.
Have you ever thought about that? Like, have you ever
Paul,
thought about how yours?
This podcast is over.
You know, I thought you were. I thought you were.
deep.
I thought he was a successful guy, but you know, you're with that background. I mean, my God.
Well-
Look, you want to hear about our parents?
So I know, but
Our parents are proud of us.
I mean,
So
we,
this
we
is-
raised the bar.
I know. Well, no, but what I want to show people is how to continue to lower the bar, because what I do want to say is both my grandparents, again, one was at Yale, they're all PhDs. And so my dad always felt that he did not do enough because both his parents, they met.
High achievers.
They were, my grandmother decoded at the University of Michigan the materials during the war for military secrets because she spoke German and she was a research at Michigan. And so my dad always said, like, he was always, this goes to the context of why I'm a very active person, 24/7, love creativity, but also have this finance side and resonate with community, because those were like, it was helping others, but also knowledge, including. So it was just that got me to a point of, I decided to leave Ohio to go to Texas to school at SMU. And when I met there, I was very uncomfortable. So my parents taught me to feel okay with being uncomfortable, to feel okay with anxiety or nervousness of trying things, and a tray of
Why would you
failing.
be uncomfortable? Obviously, you're a smart guy. I'm curious.
Yeah, but I just grew up in a different world than maybe the people I was with. But they also encouraged me to go travel. When they did, they didn't give me all the instructions. They said, go lose your. So in a summer in high school, they said, you go to Spain. I lived on a cantaloupe farm, and I thought I spoke Spanish. So everything I'd done, they eventually talked about hard work and discipline at the same time, helping your neighbor. It was just these core principles that when I got to college, I was a sponge for learning a new part of the country that I hadn't spent time with, people that were, and then I found myself just, I was never the smartest, never the fastest. I just learned that I was just a hard worker, and that work would just pay off at some point. And I think I went into the best job I could get out of college, which ended up being a banking job. My father-in-law got sick with Alzheimer's at 55 and left Northern Bank. And so the family said, hey, can you come back for a couple of years? They were trying to message all the things going on. So my wife and I, both bankers in Dallas, right out of college, came here to Little Rock to help them and be near their family in the state. And I got into banking for a couple of years and realized that at nighttime, I wanted to try something more interesting. So I found artists needing housing. So I started developing housing for artists because they were the left behinds. So I did 6 projects, taking historic buildings, converting them into live workspace for artists using incentives, which then got me into this whole finance, lobbying for incentives for communities to build and working with neighborhood organizations. So I became this just spastic real estate guy in Central Arkansas that was doing all the things that maybe my parents said, but they said they just saw me as an ex-banker or a banker or a real estate guy. And they're like, why don't you do something more creative? So I took the jobs that
That's a challenging
was able
sector to serve because they can't afford anything.
Zero.
Right? So I can see that would be a challenge.
So but I was very good with layering financing sources. So for one project, 15 layers of funding sources to give them $300 a month rent so they can afford it.
Right.
But I had to do a $3.5 million project to get it down to that level. But that was a priority for me to set up the co-op for them, to select the artist of who could be in the center.
Sure.
So anyways, this from there to where my company is today, which I can tell them about, just gave me this thing that I can do a job that supports my family at the same time, make sure that I'm connecting with the things that I grew up that are important to me, whether it's arts, community, serving others, and then economic development. And I can tell more about that. But anyways.
Wow, that's a big story.
I love it, man.
So, I've always thought that banking is a great place for people to start a career because you learn so much about business.
Oh, my God.
It's like business case after business case after business case.
I've seen 50 companies in 1 month.
Yeah.
And I saw how they did well, who didn't well.
Exactly.
Pancakes. You'd be surprised the returns. Go into the restaurant.
Is that a good business?
They cost like -2 cents, and they sell them for $12, and you can't screw it up.
Let's do a freaking pancake business.
I'm just telling you.
Pancakes.
I'm in.
Where it's at.
I looked at this. I'm in. I got money. I'll put money in it.
And you're done by like 1. Like I was looking at all these companies. So for me, to your point, it was a great front door
Yes,
to see
I believe
companies,
it.
see how people operated,
Sure.
how people. I learned as much about what not to do and how to treat people as people treated, me. And also bankers always seem to leave at 3. And so what I did is I went and worked other jobs. So not to bash the bankers out.
Bankers hours.
They always business
You can do
development.
whatever you want if you're a banker after 3, but you chose.
I went to go work on projects, try and buy things and figure out how to do it.
So what was the next step for you after Little Rock? So you're living in Little Rock then?
I was living in Little Rock, lived there 13 years, 4 children born there, had a great experience.
Okay.
And I don't want to go down the trad thing, but her father ended up passing away, but it was 10 years in a nursing home. So we ended up spending longer time there. Her mom didn't travel until he passed away, and then she came down with Lou Gehrig's the moment he passed on. So we took care of her fortunately for her, it was a 1.5 years of Lou Gehrig's disease.
How did you meet your wife? Because meeting your wife was what brought you to Little Rock, right?
It did. I would say at a fraternity party in SMU, and my fraternity brother and during pledgeship said, "Will you watch this girl?" And Active's making me take her home. So I watched.
You were pledging?
I watched his date, and
wow,
yeah,
that's
we're still
snaky.
friends today.
That is snaky as hell, dude. I'll never let you be around my wife.
No.
Okay.
You
Absolutely not. You're out.
We definitely made out that night. So yeah. Can I say that?
It's okay to say that here. That was not political. That was not religious.
Well, I can already see why you're ahead financially because you didn't suffer through divorces like the rest of us.
The good thing is she did marry the poorest guy at SMU, so we came out. She was like, I could have thrown a dart. She found a hardworking soul, is what she found.
That's good.
Yeah, she did. And a freaking beautiful
So how long
person.
have you guys been married?
Yeah, 32 years.
Wow. And
So
you
it's
had
great.
four kids,
Four
you
kids,
said, in Little
and
Rock?
the last one I've one at SMU as a freshman, and all the other three boys graduated. One's in New York City, one's in Dallas, both in the investment banking area, and then a son that is high tech with JB Hunt. He just got married last year. He lives here in town. It's great.
Great.
So tech guy that's doing really well.
And your daughter, did she graduate?
She graduated at SMU, and she's
at SMU.
She's at SMU. Yep, she has her first lacrosse game tomorrow. She's playing club lacrosse there, so she's having fun.
Paul and my middle girl play lacrosse together at Bentonville.
When we moved here from the Boston area 20 years ago, my now 32-year-old daughter was 12. And they said, well, what sports do you play? And she goes, well, I do English writing and I play lacrosse. They're like, we don't have that here.
It's the greatest sport.
But now it's changed.
Yeah.
We're getting more sophisticated here.
It's a great sport.
It's like a club for Bentonville that they play, but which kind of, I mean, it's not, doesn't make it the best situation for the kids, honestly.
But that's great. So she did that. And now, what brought you to or where do you live in North?
So I started developing. I live in Bentonville now.
Okay.
And I would have loved to have been on Mount Nord, for example. That was just one of those dream streets for me. But when we came up to Northwest Arkansas, I was developing more. I started getting recruited to come up to Northwest Arkansas in 2005, and that's when I grew my real estate development firm, and I was predominantly 90% development, maybe 5 or 10% brokerage and consulting. I was doing public speaking. I was going around talking about urban development, community development, placemaking development, but kind of built a early career off that with a small company of about 20 people doing these really interesting, very difficult projects.
Can I?
Sure.
I want to, because I think the listeners want to know this too, because I've always wanted to know. I don't understand. But for both of y'all, like, how did you get in? Like, you said you're a developer.
Yep.
But I mean, but like, y'all are just packing together different investors.
So funny thing about developing is a great question, $1 million question, because as a banker, I controlled the money. So I thought development was easy because I saw these developers making money. Bankers control 75 to 80% of the deal. And so I was underwriting these deals, kind of telling them how to run a deal.
So you as a banker, you knew you were basically working with the bank.
He was providing financing to
the developers, but the developers are really more.
And I thought I was more
collateral to the bank, right?
Yeah, that's right. But I thought I was more important than the developers. Like, I got all the money, and these guys are making all this money. But I found myself working with nonprofits who I ended up doing a lot of the work for them developing, which means they'd come to me and say, I want to do this project to do affordable housing. I said, okay, we got to go hire an architect, a contract. I showed them how to be a developer. So I said, I'm just going to go on that side. And
showed who how to be a developer?
I showed
a nonprofit.
Let's just say Habitat for Humanity said, hey, I want to go buy 20 homes. Help me get the financing on that. So
as the banker.
Yeah, but they're like,
they'd say, Habitat for Humanity would go, hey, Paul, you're a banker.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah, do this. And I say, well, do you have a contractor? Go build us some houses. I said, do you have a contractor? No. Okay, do you have an architect? No. So I started going through, like, in order for me to give you the money, there's 20 budget items that go into, buying the land to finishing the project. You got to have all those contracts lined up. So I started helping them, and I said, well, I'll just go over there on their side.
Oh, no, contracts for what? For the land?
To build
the
the building. A developer.
Hey, you don't have to get frustrated at me, Paul. I mean, did you see how mad he just got?
Mark, I thought your questions were
guys, look, you do that to me a lot too, Mark. You get mad at me when I ask a question.
I don't.
Pretend I'm one of your listeners right now,
Eric,
and be nice to me.
I love you like a son. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Dad.
So you don't need to worry about that at all.
Yeah.
Forgive us if we
come across as
So I want to make sure
condescending.
it's a great point.
So the contract, like you're contracting with the architect, contracting with the landowner to buy the land.
Yep. If it takes $2 million to build a building, there's 20 different line items that go into that $2 million to build an office building, to build a retail center, to build a house. And you have to go enter into a contract for those services to be provided to cost $2 million. Bank comes in and gives you $1.5 million, and then you put $500,000 of cash in. and you hope that makes a return or provides for your house. The guy in charge of all those contracts to make sure he does it. He can do it for his own benefit, so you can develop it for yourself, or you're a third-party developer. I did both, some for myself and some for third parties. So I've been very fortunate to do some cool projects here as third-party developers where a company says, you, the developer, I don't want to deal with the contract, the architect, the bank, everything. You just take care of everything. Sometimes they say, we want you to raise the money too. So developers' role, though, is a roller coaster of this, is the money there? Is construction costs over? Are we delayed? Is the weather out there?
Can I get it permitted in the first place? I mean, all that.
3 stages. Pre-development, which is to get approval from the city to build what you want to build and buy the land, do your numbers. Then you have to go build it. Then you stabilize it, get it leased up, get it rented out, get it making a return that you promised 1 year ago, 6 months ago. Some projects I worked on for 8 years.
I was going to say years. Yeah.
I would recommend some developers that you could work with. No, I would love to do it. I've done it for a long time. The problem is I was trying to feed a family off the roller coaster development, which has no time frame from, like I was telling somebody, I like to go out and mow my yard because it's
so gratifying.
Yeah, we do.
We all cut our lawn.
Hey, I love yard work.
Yeah.
I love machines and dirt and yard work.
Because you can do it.
And it's done.
Can I reintroduce my idea? We need to take a break here for a second.
Intermission.
My idea is this, Paul. No, this isn't an intermission. This is an intermission on our show.
Our show's the intermission.
My idea, Paul, and I want to see what you think about this.
All right.
Is I create a website called the Old Man's Yard Club.
I like it.
I
love it too.
We write about the joys of doing yard work. We review our latest tools and equipment. Okay?
Love it.
We sell ads. We have a blog. We trade information.
I'm investing in that too. Yeah, I'm on in.
The Old Man's Yard Club. it's so gratifying. Anyway.
It is.
So you get that.
So I have
development is not always that.
No, it's not. I understand.
I've committed to 2 businesses just in this one podcast. Excellent.
What, development?
What was the one I committed to one just a minute ago? What is your idea?
It was so important that
Well, we got a recording of
We
it.
got at least one idea out of this so far.
But I
love that
think
idea.
the genesis is that I'm someone of 1,000 mistakes, and in development you make those, and then what do you do with those is what's the second part of my journey of doing those developments, learning what not to do, how to handle people. So it was the most important PhD. It's just not going to be my only business line item that says how I grow my business. And but I loved it, and I was sculpting all day. I got to make those 20 contracts I execute. I have the opportunity to say, well, I want to add an artist in here to do a sculpture. I can add a 21st line item if I want to. I said, that's cool. So I can put my personality into every project, and then I can also add in community involvement. So I got to be the developer. The problem is just hard to raise a family, and that's why I went into growing and scaling a business in commercial brokerage, advising, consulting, property management.
Right, you get paid for everything you do.
Things I said I would never do. But
so you're basically your brokerage. Was it more like to consult on the development stuff for other people? They pay you to.
Yeah, the problem is development has a 6 months to 2 year cycle that I couldn't control. Brokerage, I could
sell something, you get paid, or you lease something, you
and
get
then
paid.
you could
get a commission.
Got it. And then you could also advise, and you got paid by the hour.
That's right.
Advisor, and then retainer or something.
And then if we finish that building, I get paid to manage the property for them, and I have a team of people that manage property. So I got to layer in some business, so I can still do some. So I have a full service commercial real estate firm, Moses Tucker Partners. That's what I do. I've grown it to 100 people. We're in 5
Why
states.
is it called Moses Tucker?
Because Chris Moses and I and Fletcher Hansen helped take Jimmy Moses and Rhett Tucker, who founded it in Little Rock. They merged in, or I kind of merged in with them, either how you want to say it, with my company I started years ago in Little Rock. So I built a firm up. Jimmy Moses and Rhett Tucker, who are still on the board of our firm, found kind of this group of Chris Moses, who's the CEO, and my partner lives in Little Rock, and Fletcher Hansen. The 3 of us, main principals. There's some others, but we've got a really special group that is across the state that we manage, well over 12 million square feet of properties all over the 5 states.
It's a lot of properties.
And and I had moved up here in 2005 to start working on some specific projects that this area became on fire that I it's been the best time ever. I'm very lucky and to be a part of this growing community. So I got to see it on the way up. I made it through 2008, 9. But in 2010, my dad, not to pivot, but he got sick. And so I went back to run the vineyard, kept my company.
Where was the vineyard?
Outside of Cleveland. We still own it today, and my brother and I run it. And so we have amazing. It was the first vinifera grapes grown in a state vineyard in the 60s. And my dad, when he passed on, was on 89 years old. It was almost a COVID event because when he passed on, everyone made this pilgrimage. There was one at the time in the 60s. That was my dad. Now there's over 200, and the wine region's huge. And so they came back to kind of celebrate that. And then we've said, okay, we're going to try and carry on because it's a long business, very much like development, not easy. And so my brother and sister wife run most of the day-to-day, but none of us live there. We just all have to hire the team. So I spent a couple years back there and commuted back and forth working on development projects. And that's when I needed to know that I had a bigger team, a bigger scalability so that I wasn't always required to be there. And that's when we did the merger in 2018. I had moved back here, but I was like, I see the vision for where I could be best utilized, not in the CEO role, not in the development role. The merger of Moses Tucker Partners and my firm at the time, where it made this really great regional commercial firm, and I can focus on economic development, Northwest Arkansas, consulting, advising, brokering, investing, developing, but doing it at a scale that allows me to be sitting here today and not have to worry about the hammer being.
We've talked about this a lot, Mark, in our shows, but I think that every entrepreneur probably has like this epiphany one day after doing everything under the sun for their business. Really, the biggest thing for me is going, you know what? There's people that are better qualified that can help this business, this entity, this individual human grow. That's the company. And if I keep doing this, I'm gonna suffocate it.
It takes scale, though, to get there. Right. If you are one of these people who says, I don't want to grow. I want to be a 6-person company forever. Well, you'll be trapped.
That's right.
You will never have those good people who can fill in for the things you're not so good at. You'll be doing everything.
Did you guys find the same thing in growing your business? Like there's this, when you hit 4 employees to go to 7, it was hard, but then you got easy, and then you got up to 20. I don't know. At some point, there's these natural break points.
There's somewhere around 30 employees, I think, is a big break point. 25, 30 employees.
And you
get past that.
Don't get impatient, I would definitely say. I got impatient at the same time. That self-realization that I'm not great at every job. I don't need to get into the weeds was the greatest revolution. And then
it's true.
I love not being afraid of making mistakes and getting rid of toxic folks in the organization.
Amen to that.
Man. So those are, I learned them younger.
Talk about that a little bit, Mark. Man, there's so much that I have about that.
I mean, they're a cancer, and they will corrupt everybody.
Yes.
So it's like having mold in your house or something. The stuff can spread. You've got to get rid of it quickly.
And the thing
sometimes you can reform people by really giving them a strong talking to, but most of the time you can't.
And just like freaking mold, you can't see it until it's too daggum late.
It's true.
And then it's just this nasty freaking fungus.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing, and I was talking to somebody about this.
Negativity, skepticism. Everything you pose, they're skeptical.
Here's the thing that pisses me off about it. Like I'm gonna I get pretty mad about this because I was talking about somebody the other day. What makes me more mad is not that it hurts my baby, my business, whatever, which most people would say that it is. And even the toxic people would say that that's what my problem is.
Yeah.
What pisses me off is what it does to the other people on the team.
Right.
Because those other people
corrupts them.
You can start them out, they work. They come in, they're excited about the opportunity. They start working hard. They get behind the vision. They build friendships in the organization. Things are going well. They're getting a little raise. People are starting to make money. The shit starts going. The ship starts going. Sick bastards come in with their freaking ideology and their leadership and their vision. And then it starts with 2 and it spreads to 4, then it spreads to 6. And these people that are just trying to work hard and do the right thing. and are actually progressing and moving forward in life start believing the bullshit, the negativity. And then they come back and they get confused. And they come back to the office and they start getting a little depressed.
Maybe I should be thinking like that.
Yeah,
right?
maybe I should. And maybe Mark and Paul
Maybe
and Eric
Eric's
are
crazy.
crazy idiots.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to stop doing that because they're not going to go anywhere. And then I'm going to believe this way and I believe these other people. And then all of a sudden the shit hits the fan and these freaking toxic, nasty, freaking negative bastards go somewhere else, right? And they lose their freaking stuff. And then you try to bring them back, but they're too far gone. And then they go take a different job that doesn't have anything to do with whatever you did. Yeah. And then you look 3 years down the road and they're doing the same thing, but they could have been making this kind of money.
Or they've left that company and moved on to the next one.
And now they're confused and don't trust anybody.
Right.
I know, but
Sorry.
what I believe, I think you're 100% right, is that I don't, just because they may be toxic in our organization, they're great people. They're just not people that fit maybe with the culture that I have. And I love your comment as well. From the first time I met Eric, it was the positive energy, the happy go crazy. I did think he was a little crazy, but I need to be around positivity. That helps motivate me, positivity. So, and Mark, you brought it up as well. It's like, so I just, sometimes it's not even toxic. It's just, it's hard to work sometimes, and there's a lot of things going on in people's personal life, but stay positive. And I realize when I get positive people around me, the office operates more efficient. We work, maybe do that little extra thing. So both you guys are that way, I could tell, and it responded immediately to that. And I already think I like him better than you now.
I know. Should we cut out what? Should we cut out what just happened?
You're all right, Paul.
Should we cut out what I just went through? Because I went into it.
No.
I mean, I do get mad because of what it does to other people that are innocent.
Exactly. Well, there's
Like you can do stuff to me.
It's one thing to start a business, okay, and then when you've got these other folks that maybe they came to work for you, but they're smarter than you are, okay, that's where the problem is they'll think of every reason why something won't work.
Yeah.
And not that we can't think of that stuff, okay? But you'd never be an entrepreneur. You'd never start a business if you were negative because you'd assume you'd fail.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
And we all assume we're not going to fail because we're not going to give up. Even if we hit obstacles and bumps, we keep going.
That's awesome. There it is.
Isn't it?
Like, Eric, you got to be your success is based on 1,000 failures at least. And that's a compliment, I think. But I think you learned from those 1,000 failures, just like I did. Yeah. And I can't. Well, I get excited. People don't like it when they say I've failed a bunch of them, but that's how I learn. It's a question if you keep failing and never learning from it.
Right. There's two kinds of failure, though.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. In my mind, abject total failure is horrible. We all seek to never have that happen. Right. Failed experiments are another thing. We have a million failed experiments. Failed experiments are great. You can learn from them as long as you don't bet the whole farm.
Yeah, me coming in this podcast today, this could be
this was partially a failure.
People could say, I never want to deal with that, Paul, ever again. Right. You know?
I feel like we've all learned.
They would never say that. But one thing that came up earlier, Eric was talking about developers, okay? I just want to go back to that for a minute because I've been a developer and I think there's a very negative attitude toward most people in the community toward developers, especially by the city councils and city staffs in many cases, and some of the residents. The inherent assumption is that you're evil and you're only doing it to make money. And yet when most developers that I know, including myself, the money was way down on the list. I just wanted to do something I thought was cool.
That's right.
And would help the community because I could do it.
Oh, that's it.
Isn't that the truth?
That's it. The problem is people
don't understand
one
that.
out of 100. There's 1 out of 100 that are bad, that maybe you shouldn't have done, that did something wrong. But most of us really want to connect with the community next to us. Want to engage it, do something special, and be that artist. I'm telling people,
it's three-dimensional art is your project.
It is
public art.
There's certain artwork you look at and you're like, okay, that's not great, but I appreciate your passion. Right. So that's very similar to development. So what we need as a community is not to reject developers, but to embrace them, engage them, find the ones there, encourage them, provide policies, things that provide support the things that are great about it. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's so important. We have $10 billion worth of construction. there's so many people developing coming from all over the country that want to invest their money, be an artist here. We have to be receptive to that. It's just right now we're all learning about how to deal with outsiders, insiders, how we're building this community. We're building an entire University of Arkansas up in Bentonville in like 3 years. Okay, that's how big just one project.
It's amazing. I mean,
then if you go to any other town, South Fayetteville to
right.
Pea Ridge is going to be the fourth biggest town here, and it's like the towns around us. They're getting their own personality. We're doing legacy development right now that is so special to all of us be involved. All of you guys are involved in it because this usually happens over 50 years, 75 years. We're getting it over 10.
I know. It's so true. But what I don't like is the attitude of a lot of people. As I said, it's the presumption is one of guilt as it relates to you as a developer, that somehow you're evil because you want to build something.
Yep.
And the other one is the anti-change people. They're all, it's like, keep Fayetteville funky. You've seen the bumper stickers, right?
Yes.
And that's interpreted. I had a guy say to me once on Facebook, which I can't stand, by the way, years ago. It said, and we were just talking about him this morning because the house he lived in was sold recently, and somebody came in and just cleaned everything out. They just clear cut the yard, they stripped all the crap out of it. This guy was like a hoarder and had like 20,000 pots in his yard. And anyway, but he said to me once online, "This is the historic district, not the changed district."
What?
I'm like, dude, because of all the houses that we've redone here.
Yes.
Okay. We've made this a nice area that's worth a lot of money.
Oh my God.
And is beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh Thank
and
you.
is attracting people who are also making improvements in the area. It's a good thing.
Well,
It's not the changed district.
So there is actually what I tell people. There's 4 quadrants. If you can imagine a bullseye, and I've got a square, and there's 4 quadrants that make a great experience, and I call it the it factor. And so I've written about it a little bit. When the it factor is like, what creates, like, why do you go like, man, I want to take a picture there. That moment's cool. That sign is great.
Yes.
If you want to take a picture, you've created an it. So in real estate, I try and do it with the projects, the exterior, the facade, the artwork, the people, and how I incorporate it. That it factor is actually some science behind it. One of those pieces is almost the history, the education you get out of it. You could have 3 of the 4 quadrants, but the history or tying into the community, the neighborhood, that is one of them. So you can have a great experience, but always historic makes you tied to where you're escaping. So that I say that because I believe hugely in historic preservations for multiple reasons.
I do too. I mean, we got awards for best historic preservation, best adaptive reuse, all developer of the year, all that.
Love it.
Because I believe in the contextual architecture. Now, a lot of architects don't go for that.
I understand.
They want a shock and awe architecture, which is like, look at me, look at me, look at me. I am completely different from everything around here. Doesn't that shock you? They teach them that in architectural school.
No,
they are taught that. And I used to teach in architectural school a class called Everything They Don't Usually Teach You in Architectural School.
I would love to be in that
5th
class.
year students.
Eric and I would be really good in that class.
But I remember this one kid said to me, we went and looked at some projects one day, and he says to me, he goes, I don't think what you do is very good. You don't push the bounds of architecture in any way.
Really?
I wanted to say to the kid, F you.
Yeah, I was going to say,
a-hole.
that's right.
Okay, what have you done? All right?
Yeah, the 19-year-old was like,
but I mean, I didn't.
Yeah.
But
it's beautiful. Well said.
But it's like,
Well said.
we see our stuff as just part of it's got to fit the context. It's just one little element in the greater scheme of the community.
Love it.
But I agree with what you said. I never call it the it factor. I would just say every project's got to have one thing that wows people.
Yeah.
Whenever they see it, they're like, that's the thing that sticks.
Yep.
If it doesn't have that, it actually loses value.
For all our Springdale listeners out there, I fully support them. But like 20 years ago, they asked me to do at their chamber event in front of 400 people. So they're like, well, tell us something, about the Springdale. I asked them, what is your it factor? What do you go and take a picture of? And they've done an amazing job over the last 5 years. It is taking off now. But 20 years ago, they didn't know what picture they would take at what place. Like I said, where's your moment? Where you send your grandmother and say, hey, I'm here. they have done it now, and I'm super proud. and very
71B
involved.
in Sunset with 168-foot wide right-of-way and utility lines everywhere. Yeah.
I told my picture was getting chicken at Neil's. I love getting chicken at Neil's, but I said that was maybe, I said that's kind of an info.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool, iconic spot.
Right.
But I force people to think about it on a micro level and
That's
on
a
a
really
macro
good
level
point.
of saying, what do you like taking a picture of? The 8th Street Market, when we decided to put the 8, we made it big and orange, and we knew
Great project.
that one would take a ton of pictures. Like people were just going to stand and
Yep.
take that picture, and then we could brand it and market it. But we had to take an old chicken plant and say we're going to make this a culinary center. So we did the opposite, and everyone said tear the building down. I would say 60% of the walls fell down during construction. I still said put it back up because that was where the chicken was breaded for Wendy's. I think it was called the crispy chicken. But I think the story of the history and these
You're
kind of
right.
symbolism that ties back to now it's food and innovation was like a thing that we forced to a product that would have been easier building brand new.
What's the picture place in Springdale now then?
I would say their downtown has probably 10, and even West Springdale is starting to grow and have these moments. I think they have lots of places now. I think they're multicultural and of so many different groups coming together. Some of the hardest working people, they have symbols of that throughout all their parks that they're redeveloping. Their
Parks
school
are
systems.
fantastic.
Spectacular.
Schools have gotten better, in some cases better than Fayetteville.
Yes. Yep.
You know, again, I mean, we've said this on prior shows, but you got to give credit to the Northwest Arkansas Council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they really did sort of engineer these unique identities for each one of the towns,
Yeah,
in my
absolutely.
opinion.
Absolutely.
And have put this thing together, which now it's achieved this sort of critical mass where, like you said, everybody's coming here.
Yeah.
We got something for everybody.
And
You
every
know?
place has a little bit of an identity.
It does. They all have a unique identity.
Well, both of you guys have had successful businesses. Paul, I get to be the announcer now. But don't you feel that I think what I felt about this, and I've lived other places, was that because of, I felt like that everyone was on the same railroad tracks, even though there's all these different opinions, different cultures, I felt like it was a good place to do business and to grow a small business and be an entrepreneur. Wasn't
It's
it?
fantastic. I agree. Well, we both came here about the same time because
Yeah.
I came here in 04.
Okay.
So I think I
When
bought
did-
my first house
when did you
04
come
here.
here?
2001.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, all of us then, not too far apart. This was, you know, what I think is unique about this area, and you've lived different places, so you can attest to this.
Yep.
We welcome outsiders here.
Yeah.
This is not like the old guard hates everybody and we're on our own little clique over here and you're not part of our culture. It's not like the Deep South.
Yeah.
It's the gateway to the Wild West.
I agree. I think it's great. I think when you came here, Eric, with the prison system, I felt like that was can I say
Well,
that?
I think that, honestly, to give us credit, we kind of broke through a lot of the old.
You did.
I mean, you got the worst of the worst entering into a nice place. So it includes us.
That's hysterical. The prison.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I came here, honestly, the reason I came here was for the outdoor.
Was it?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I wanted to go somewhere to start an outdoor magazine in Arkansas.
What was the name of that magazine? Please tell me.
Get Out magazine.
I know. That's what.
Get out.
Get Out, bro.
Get out, bro.
Had great photography in
We're
it.
just a little
and
bit
good
ahead of our
graphics.
time.
You were.
We were ahead of time. There was only like one mountain biking trail in Devil's Den when we first started our magazine. Now
Imagine if
there's
you-
everywhere.
today.
Oh, I know. We were just ahead of the time. But
Well, nobody reads even magazines now. So imagine it, you'd be broke. I had 6 magazines. They suck.
right.
Eric worked on them.
Yeah.
He was there the day we bought them. Okay.
Okay,
Listen.
we're going back to those.
Sorry.
What we've learned from.
going down the wrong.
We bought.
Let's open up
No,
about that.
This will sound like Paul.
I think we finally hit the subject. Yes,
we
go ahead.
bought $3.4 million in prior year revenue.
Wow.
Magazines.
This is great.
For $165,000.
Wow.
Isn't that right?
That's
Sure did.
And we
Tell
lost
them why.
We lost 90 grand the first month.
That's beautiful.
Okay.
This is why I
That's why it was such a good deal.
We were riding that thing down. It was
That
like
is-
that.
We jumped on that thing.
Yeah.
It was
right as
going down
about-
so fast, but
I didn't know this was a
we
therapy
did
program
sell.
for small
We
business.
did
This is
pull
great.
out.
This
It's a
is great.
nosedive, but it
This
was.
is awesome.
Hey, but
yeah.
we did some good things.
Anyway, no, we did. But
yeah, I came here
outdoor.
for the outdoor area.
We're glad you came.
You know, it's like, man, I want to tell a story of outdoors in Arkansas. But to your point about the community, Here's what's fantastic about it.
Yeah.
Is you can drive 15 minutes and you're in paradise. You know, you really are around here. I mean, I think that
Downtown Bentonville is paradise. Wait a minute, I don't even have to go 15 minutes.
I think the growing small
It's
business
amazing.
opportunities will continue to be around outdoor recreation across this region in a way that is special and unique. We see them and hear about them every day. And I think whatever you see now in outdoor rec, I think it's going to be 10, 20-fold the next 10 years. And I think it brings this sense of, it's the greatest economic development story that will get told, because we used to do industrial development and growing of a community through industrial parks, give away free land to build a plant
And
so
tax
people move to your town,
incentives and utility abatements and
we're
all of
attracting
it.
the smartest, interesting, diverse group of
It's
people
true.
that like to go outside and connect. Yes, there's going to be some challenges with what you've said about not bringing people in that are against new change, but we're changing this beautiful kaleidoscope of ideas and people that are outdoor thinking, community minded, and I think that's going to make us a healthier state, region.
I agree. I
which is
just
why-
wish this would spread outside this region and part of this to the rest of the state.
I think it naturally will.
I really do.
it'll take some time for that. I think the further you spread out, it'll become, you'll hit points of, points of just resistance every time as it continues to
Did
grow.
you guys find that this?
We're setting an example, though.
We are, no, for sure. I think
Listen, I can tell you my opening comment about the context of growing an estate high-end vineyard in Ohio is the same as people's reaction when I said I'm moving to Arkansas. They're saying, is everything okay? And then when I say I've got this amazing wine, he's like, we're not going to buy your wine, Paul, at this restaurant because no one's going to give me your best Ohio estate Riesling. I feel the same thing about Arkansas when
It's
people
true.
say, hey, come here to develop. It's like, why?
What?
So I think
What?
by changing that narrative, we're doing it. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes shows like this. It takes people getting out there, seeing small entrepreneurs grow. And so I will give you guys some wine if you'd like some.
yeah, I'd love some wine. What's it called?
It's free to mark, and it'll cost you $60. But it's
I'll just go hang out at Mark and drink his free wine.
We should have some of this wine here now.
We should. Why don't you bring some wine?
Yeah.
What kind of guest are
The
you?
funny thing was when I would go to church with my dad, he sang in the choir with my mom. They would in the back of his pickup truck, he carried the wine because he would just, if he saw someone, he would, the next thing you know, or if he needed new tires for the truck, he would give him a case of wine. I mean, he bartered that stuff all the time, and people would show up after he passed the wine. It's like, well, how much do I owe you for this cement you poured back here? Well, that's 6 bottles. I was like, is that how he did? He's been doing. That's why I have no expenses or revenues for the entire company. But I find that I've carried it in the back of my car before.
I don't get the free wine. There's nothing that I can.
We will
give
do
to
it.
you that's-
I think I'm actually working on a project which will be another small business adventure of trying to bring it here in a unique way that I can. It's pretty special story, and there was a nice book written on it in the last couple of years about my dad that tells, and I only say it to be, he used to love vitamin D through getting the sun. So every day from 1 to 3, he would go out to the vineyard and naked to get his vitamin 3. Well, I sent a customer out there. I was up there and I was like, yeah, he's out in the vineyard in like row 10. I had no idea that what he did in row 10 was give vitamin. Now he's 88 and he stands up and walks towards the customers and they're trying to act like this is normal. But I could tell you there'd be a whole show just on my dad, but it was those
I would
things
scare
that
the customers away.
that was-
myself.
I can see you doing that.
But
No.
But no, you guys have no fear.
My dad would have done that. He would have been just like
you
yours.
would do it. Dude.
No, I
Come
would
on,
not.
There it is.
Come on.
I have nightmares like that. Okay, of like walking around
All
with
nightmares are
no pants
of
on.
You,
I mean, it's
of you doing those things. It's a fear that you're going to break through.
is
so
it
fun.
Yeah, dude. Give it 5 years. You're
I
going to be
do
doing
not
exactly
plan
this.
on walking around with no pants and not being able to find the class that I should have been at all year.
That's
Take the
exactly
final,
what's going to
okay?
happen, man.
That's I have no
I feel
plan
like we're
on
right
doing
on
that.
script, by the way. I hope this.
So let's bring it back for a minute now. We gotta wrap this thing up and put a bow on it here shortly.
Great.
Paul, so you got this business now. Are you still doing any development? I mean, you
I
got
am.
your brokerage and consulting. That's a big operation. What
am.
kind of development are you doing?
Our firm is working on downtown Springdale. We've converted the First Security Bank building, working for some great investors and partners with us in that, and taking the key intersection of Emma and the creek there and the trail. It's been in the works for literally 5 years. I mean, I can't, the amount of infrastructure needed to be repositioned.
They have really done a lot with the river and the Emma Street and all that.
It's
Emma
spectacular.
Avenue,
So
whatever it is.
but it's been like, we had to start 8 years ago with a master plan, to then start after the master plan got done, to then install design and ideas. And so super excited about that project, and believe, again, downtown Springdale is going to be this really interesting story. The second thing is I'm doing a handful of things around downtown Bentonville. We announced working with a partner on a YT Bikes out of Germany, is going to have kind of U.S. operations at what they call a mill right next to the ledger. It's a spectacular project, bringing this international. Awesome. It'll be like a museum quality experience for how you understand the YT Bike brand and their name. So super excited about that one.
That is cool.
And then just have a handful of other smaller, I'd say, adaptive reuse of building structures we're both doing, for some myself, some for clients, of reposition existing assets. So yeah.
Can you help me with my driveway?
I will.
Thank you.
Why don't we have that solved now? I sent you to an engineer.
I know, but it just doesn't seem. I mean, no, he's great.
Okay.
It's just the construction. It's the cost
Oh yeah.
for the concrete. I need some concrete.
No,
Y'all have any free concrete?
Brutal.
It's hard to get concrete thanks to the Walmart headquarters project.
It's super expensive.
It's gone up a lot.
And you're not going to like the price. Yeah.
No.
I agree. I
need a hookup. I need you guys.
Let's talk off.
I got one. I may be able to help you. But anyway, Eric bought a couple buildings down there in downtown. But they'll be cool.
I could be super cool. And I think
Yeah.
the most important thing we learn about buildings is they can have, I always like great architecture on the outside, or interesting architecture, but second, it's what you do inside. Someone opened up on the square, and I hope she's not listening, but I doubt she is. She came in from out of town, and it just poorly executed. They plugged an old cassette player, turned the music on. It was crackly. There was no decorations that looked like there were any thought into it. The food had no purpose to it. And she's like, I'm not getting any revenue. I'm like, you have the number one location, and you just missed it. And you can tell them. So I think, I tell people all the time, you can have a great building, but you got to know how to put it. I think what Eric will do, and what you guys know how to do, it's just about how you make it come alive. And there's got to be a lot of thought in that. There's got
to be some freaking soul in it.
Got to be some soul.
Everybody loves soul. We're all humans at the end of the day, man.
Do you ever think, Eric, let's talk about this, open up a little bit.
I like it already.
I think you've got so much soul. Where does that come from? Where's it come from?
The sun.
Your son? The sun?
The sun.
All right, Mark, let's go to you.
And water. Water, too.
Are we going to go to flat earth next? No. Does it really come from this?
It comes from the sun and water. That's where it comes from.
I love that. Okay,
it's pretty simple. And sometimes there has been experiences where, I mean, honestly, probably the happiest moment in my entire life was when I had true revelation of the apple when I took a bite of it. And I was like, this is the most magical thing that's ever been created.
That's it?
So simple.
Because you weren't distracted at the moment?
I wasn't distracted. I understood the sugars.
Living in the present.
Living in the present. And like, this is truth.
Yeah. Do you search for that soul project sometimes? I mean, do you ever have a challenge with wrestling the necessity or need versus the wanting to, get, I don't know.
I'm pretty much out of the development business at this point. We've sold everything, and we got rid of our general contractor's license and all that.
Yeah.
But no, that's why I liked houses. I mean, I strayed into commercial too, and multifamily and all that. But the house is such a personal thing.
Yeah.
I always tried to imagine who would live there and what they'd be like and how they were going to use that. And then design it around them, even though they aren't there yet.
Love that.
And that, I don't know if that's soul or what, but that's, you got to think about the people. And I think that's a problem with a lot of architects and developers is they don't really like people. Okay.
Sure.
You've got to like people. Yeah. And that's got to be the focus of any business. The customer or the end user in our case as a developer.
Yeah.
How are they going to experience this? How are they going to use this?
I think that's $1 million question, but it is how to control or use or be motivated by what motivates us. And finding products that are soul driven is the most awesome, as long as you understand the financial consequences. But I always challenge that both personally and professionally, things I work on, but I love it. That is where I'm at. When I'm around people that do it with that, it's coming from somewhere else. So
it's mission bound, right? You got a purpose behind what you're doing. I think that's the big, and it's, you said it earlier, like, it's like one of the last things on the list as you as a developer is the financial outcome. Too.
Right.
There's all these other reasons.
I just don't want to lose money.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I don't necessarily think I'm going to have to make a lot of money.
Right. Absolutely.
I know. And so we started something because I love working with nonprofits. I've sat on boards, did all that. And then I started getting asked to just give a check. And I just said, so we brought on someone named Ken Weatherford, who's kind of he does beers and hymns. He also serves a lot of nonprofits in what he does. So we have a whole division now that just focuses on, there is so many nonprofits, there are so many churches, schools that don't have that real estate expertise, that need office space, that need lease space, that want to grow. So sometimes we get paid, sometimes we don't. But I'd rather help them with their needs than write them a check to a chicken dinner. And I apologize for all the chicken dinner folks out there, which are amazing.
You're right, though.
So so give me a task. So what we do is try and align ourselves with those churches right now. The whole funding model's changed. So I'm saying, well, you've got a $2 million piece of parking lot that's only used for Sundays. So let's reposition.
No, it always bugged me, the poor utilization of their great facilities.
I can endow your church. You can earn 5% on that $2 million, and you still get the parking space. I'll still give you the parking space. Let's just do something. So anyway, I say that to be that.
I can see an opportunity there and how you help them.
So that's just been a new endeavor the last couple of years, and we've had so many great. The conversation meetings we have now that we can is probably one of those fun things that. And someone that wants to spend that time, because some of these are long leading things. Anyways.
So
it's good stuff.
Back to you, Paul.
Yeah.
How long do you plan on working? Have you thought? I mean, you could probably not work right now.
No, I 100% have to work. I honestly love. I'm probably will do it. Retirement is not a word, or slowing down.
Right.
I actually just feel like what I've been given is the gift of 50 plus years of experience that if I give it away now, I want to share it. So I'm into the sharing time and but that means mentoring, coaching, helping, advising. And the more I can pass it on, so that there's more disciples, so to speak, that are happy with, like you said, positive soul searching products, really building the community. And this community is at a special place right now that I see this area for me, 10 years of really fun, important work in economic development. I'm not even remotely. I'll be 100, and I'll still be, like I said, I'm still talking entrepreneurial projects, just like I know I can't help it. I mean, and it most likely, I hope that I can just be a piece of the community that's added a little bit of fun and, humor. I've never had a serious day. Have you ever had a serious day?
Oh, Lord. A serious day? Even a moment for Eric is hard. A serious moment is difficult.
If I do have a serious day, please, call them.
Yeah, that's why it's so much fun.
Call the hospital.
Listen to you there, Paul. I mean, my thought is you should be teaching. I mean, that's what I teach at U of A, and I've been there, and I love it.
So glad you do, actually.
You really should be doing it because, it is a good way to give back and to help other people. It's also a great way to spot talent.
Yeah.
For your businesses.
It's a great idea.
It really is.
Great idea. Thank you.
And you would be fantastic at it, I think, as is Eric. I mean, he's great too. But Eric doesn't have a master's degree.
He has masters in a lot of things, something.
We can't hire him. I mean, it's...
I'm out.
You're out. He's out.
I'm just out.
He's got. I mean, that's the unfortunate aspect of the education system.
You have to have a master's.
You have to be teaching at the U of A in the College of Business.
Come on, man.
It's a minimum. Listen, if you have a master's, we're still peons compared to the PhDs. Okay?
We still talk to undergraduates like you.
Yeah. But the doing, the knowledge that Eric's gained by doing is immense. Yeah, that's part of the reason why we do this podcast. We want people to learn from the experience of other successful people.
Yeah.
You got a lot to share.
That, and then to inspire what you were talking about like, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Let's keep building, make things better. I mean, if we've always, as humanity has always made things a little bit better all the time. And we can't let that slow down.
And we've got to continue to rehabilitate the image of business people in the eyes of non-business people.
True.
I do think that's important because they need to understand that it's not all just about selfishness and making money. It's so different. There's so much more to it than
There
that.
is. It's actually a lot of times, I mean, I know for me, it's the opposite of all those things.
It is. I agree.
People are not taught the skills of engaging their community always. And so it's that awkward connection of 70% of the people aren't really engaged or don't know how to or feel uncomfortable. There's a fear. There's I don't know enough. But I do want to complain, or I do want to not like us. So it's we don't teach that to our kids. So my job, my legacy that's why I'll never retire, is because my kids are watching me. That is the most important thing. I'm teaching them every day about what it is to work, how I operate, how I handle communities, how I laugh at tragedy. Those are the things.
Those are some valuable lessons.
And I know they're going to have 4 kids, and then we're going to have 4 kids. So we've just got to start really at the grassroots level, family to family, start teaching about the importance of that triple bottom line, whether it's your environment, to community, and making it. You do have to make at some point. If no one makes a return, whether it's 2% or 200%, then
amen.
We have a non-growing community that needs money or support from someone else, and you can't control your environment. We should be able to plant everything we need here to eat what we need to and make a living off it. So
I agree. I think it helps everybody. So, well, with that note, unfortunately, we're going to have to end the show, but we'd love to have you back, Jeff. It's great talking with you, Jeff.
Paul.
Sorry. We'd love to have you back, Paul. I don't know why. I've just been wanting to call him Jeff all day.
I appreciate
Listen,
that.
Jackson.
Sorry. No. Cut
It's
that.
okay.
No, cut.
No,
No,
don't
no,
cut
no.
it.
No,
Look,
no.
actually,
Well, that's fine, because I remember I did it one time.
So my
We'd
I do
love to
have
have you back, Paul.
Amongst
Seriously.
friends, I still, most people know me as Pablo, and I say
I was
that.
going to bring that up. Pablo.
Oh,
So they call you Pablo.
I heard that, actually.
The reason why
I just...
we'll finish it with that. You were trying to end nicely.
Anyway,
but
it's okay, Paul. No, I was going to say we need to have you back, but I did hear of Pablo referenced recently in a real estate conversation. Would that have been you?
That would have been me. So yes, it would have been. It is perfect tie-in. My mom used to write me notes to the fraternity house, and she just wrote it as Pablo, and she wanted me to keep my sense of humor and people not. And I lived in Spain for a while, and that was my name when I lived in high school. In
And you're
Spain.
an artist.
And basically, to this day, most everyone knows me as Pablo. And then I kept it, and I kind of push it because it creates. I do push it because I'm almost like it's fun. I want you to know I'm not. It's funny. It's don't take me like.
Because you're the opposite of what I would think Pablo would be.
But it is. I love it now when I'll have a super serious conversation, got 6 executives on there, and then one person's like, Pablo, what should we do in this? The entire room, the whole conversation. But for me, I'm okay just saying the world is too short. I love it. It's fun. It brings me back to my mom and my history with Spanish and culture. So, Jeff.
Or Jeff.
I tell you guys,
Jimmy.
Bruno, my wife called her brother-in-law, married to her sister, who, they only got married 3 years ago. For some reason, she started calling him Butch. Oh, that's right. She didn't know his real name, or she thought it was Butch, and nobody else
Said anything.
ever.
Just let it go. Just let it go.
Anyway, sorry about that, but we'd love to have you back, Paul.
It's been a treat. Thank you.
And you're a lot of fun to talk with, and I think you got a lot to offer. It's great to see you being successful. It's great to see you being motivated by doing something good for the community, because I think that's really important.
And I just want to say that one of the things that also Eric, the guy is more involved with community events. Every time I show up,
I know
he was there, but he was there in the front row helping out. I do appreciate it. And that kind of energy motivates, and that we need more crazy Erics in the world. And Mark, your reputation, it's a treat. It's so glad to actually be here. It's like people have actually said we need to connect and meet, and I appreciate both y'all, what y'all do for everybody. So.
Well, thanks. It's great
Pablo.
being here. And so this has been another episode of Big Talk About Small Business. You can check us out at www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com. And Paul, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, what is your email address?
Pablo.
Bob. I would say it's P. Esterer at mosestucker.com. P. Esterer.
Could you spell that?
It's P-E-S-T-E-R-E-R at mosestucker.com.
Great. Well, we appreciate you being here.
How does somebody get a hold of a free case of wine?
Yeah, that we'll talk offline. You're buying lunch.
All right.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.